I'll sue you. I'll sue you. If somebody claims I'm a racist, that's slander. That's libelous. That's defamation of character. Okay, and the same goes for being anti-Muslim, anti-Jewish, or anti-Christian. Okay, you're looking at a lawsuit. I mean, that's the way I feel. I've never sued anybody in my life, but I listen. I figured out a long time ago I don't want enemies, but it's a radical notion I found out in this world that common sense is supposed to teach us that, yeah, that's a real lofty notion, but you're naive. Okay, you're stupid, basically. You're not sophisticated. You're unworldly. Okay, and I get stubborn. I get very determined. If I believe that this is okay, that in my heart, in the marrow of my soul, I believe that this is the reality I want. Okay, then I can have it because it's a good thing. It's a good thing not to have enemies, and we should all strive to not have enemies. Who the hell needs enemies? Life's hard enough. Crap. I mean, I don't want anybody disliking me, much less hating me or despising me. For God's sake, at the end of my days, I don't want anybody spitting on my grave. This is why I say, look, Biden, I'm backing off. I mean, I know that he was a patsy for Obama, and Obama was real instrumental in the bailout, so I've got issues. I admit, and I'll tell you, I wish I could have a dream about Biden like I did with Obama, where I went out and shook his hand, and it was a nice, cordial talk, and it was, nice to meet Obama. Wow, I met Obama, president, first black president. It was, my dad and I, we disagree on a lot of political stuff, but when it came to Obama, we both voted for him, and it was like, wow. I said it's a proud moment, to my dad. I remember sitting there watching TV one night, talking to him. It's a proud moment in American history, and he was like, yeah, he totally agreed that, it was. It showed that we're not a racist nation. Once and for all, it's settled. And then to see all this crap for decades now, what it seems like it, about race and how we're such a racist nation. We're the least freaking racist nation on earth. For God's sake, you got racists everywhere. Look, how many turds in a punch bowl does it take to screw up the punch? That's why I say, I mean, when I say, well, the FBI may have been involved, when you look at the research that guys like Jim Mars did on the Federal Reserve and the assassination of JFK and the links there, you got one turd in the punch bowl, man. But it's hard to get them because the turds are wily. I mean, they're sneaky. They act through subterfuge. So, you're drinking this, turd filled punch, and it's like, that's the reality. That's our reality in America. And America being the most influential nation on earth, we've infected the drinking water, drinking punch of everybody on planet Earth. I mean, we can't get it together. We call ourselves the leaders of the free world. We bandy these terms about like democracy. I've heard that more times in the last couple of weeks than I've heard it in the last few years. A democracy? For God's sake, what was the bailout of '08? This greatly impacted the lives of the average regular American person, that bailout. What they did was they debased your money. They made it worth less. Okay? And they said it was critical. Oh, we couldn't they're too big to fail. And these guys are too big to jail. Yeah, they broke the law, but you gotta, it's just moral hazard. And you got, the price you pay for having all this money at your fingertips. Okay. Oh my God. And then they have that rash of foreclosures, stealing everybody's houses. We got the mainstream media just training people to believe that that it's good that your housing price went up in value. Which translates the price, right? The cost. We all know when they say value, you read between the lines. I mean, it's just deceptive. Okay, well, they're telling you that your property values. We all have heard this term very many times. Okay, so they're promoting this as a good thing. Okay, not pointing out that your taxes are based on that. So the more value, the higher property taxes you're going to pay because it's based on a percentage. They don't tell you that that means your housing dollars are worth less to those that are struggling to be a homeowner, which the majority of California residents today are renting. Do you understand? And that disparity is growing. That ratio of non-homeowners keeps growing. People are struggling more and more and more, but they're just they're not gonna succeed. How are they? The writing's on the wall. Very few are gonna pull a rabbit out of the hat. Yeah, some people did. They made it. Wow, I got my education and I got in a niche, and so there's people that are escaping it. They're able to be homeowners, but very few. You'll see fewer and fewer. You'll see more and more people with college educations. They're out there running successful businesses with these good careers and all this, and they can't afford to be homeowners. What hope do you think there is for the average Joe that's busting his ass day in and day out, pouring out his blood, sweat, and tears? It's hopeless. Admit it. You understand this is what they've done to us. And not, I mean, it's been a long suffering process, a long, slow kill. Okay, like the frogs in the water, because they couldn't have done this overnight. They couldn't have. They had to spread it out over a long period of time. Okay, they couldn't tell people when $1 an hour was a middle class life, where only one spouse had to work. Okay, and support the whole family. Be a homeowner. Do you understand? That was the reality in America when I was a kid. What would it take today to do that in California, in Los Angeles? How much money does one person have to make? And you tell me if the minimum wage is causing inflation. What caused inflation? What came first, the chicken or the egg? We know what came first. The justification for a COLA, a cost of living adjustment, is that the cost of living changed, either up or down. If it goes down, great. That's what it's supposed to do under capitalism, supply and demand. In which case you give the wages a decrease. They go down because they're still making more money. They're getting richer anyhow because their money's been going up in worth over that last year. But if it goes the other way, there needs to be checks and balances. It needs to go up, the cost of living adjustment. So how much would it be? You do the math yourself, because I'm going to sound like I'm being exaggerating, being hyperbolic, okay? And I don't want to do that. So you do just some rough basic math, what it would take. Look at the average median price for a house in Los Angeles, okay? And then you figure that out. So the point is, they had to do this over a long period of time. But if they told people when $1 an hour was sufficient, that you'll still get that $1 an hour. In fact, we're going to give you a raise. It's going to $1.10. And people are like, right on, right on. But they fail to tell them that, sorry, but your dollar is going to have the buying power of a nickel now. You see, but that's essentially what they've done. And even more dramatic than that. It's more like now it's worth a penny. That's what they've done. That's what they've done. So off the top of my head, yeah, one person working in LA, $100 an hour, man. 40 hours a week. That's right. That's what it's going to take. That might be a little high. Okay, so I'm just trying to make a point, and the point is fair. Okay, we've gone downhill to the point where we're sunk. We're done. We're cooked. We got it. The sooner we admit it, then the sooner that we can change things. Okay, but in the meantime, we're going to suffer wildly, and I don't like it. I don't like trauma for myself any better than I like it for anybody else, because I understand our interconnectivity. It's inextricable. It's a failsafe. It's just a default system God built in the essence of a human being, that we have certain values that are inalienable because God said so. And if we seek to be righteous people and value our soul and our conscience and our integrity and all these invisible qualities that people wouldn't sell for any amount of money, people in the right mind, that is, other people fall headlong into it. And you wonder why the evil men rule the world? A little handful, a little tiny critical mass, enough to get the job done? Because they're willing to do things normal people aren't. That's what they've done. But back to my point about, the mainstream media, pushing the idea that housing value is high. Could you imagine the grocery stores doing that? They were on all the time reporting, hey, you got to see, this is a good thing, that the value at the grocery store went up. You see, I'm outraged because both things are essential human need commodities. Okay, housing is a commodity. A house, it's a thing, right? It's a physical thing, just like food is a physical thing, and these are basic essential human needs. So that's why it's so unconscionable to manipulate these markets and tolerate it. I mean, to me, it's far worse to have several colluding special interest groups that benefit from manipulating markets, okay, working together than one monopoly. One monopoly has one head, right? It's a monosource. You go after it and boom, you get nailed. You no, we got you. You're a monopoly, and we're breaking you up for good reason because it's illegal, because it's too easy to control markets and just charge whatever you want. Sky's the limit. But one head, you can target it. But now when you've got all these groups, when the lenders and they're talking amongst themselves and hey, this, the more money we dump on the public, right? That's good for us because we work off a commission and a percentage, and you get it, right? So there should be no appraisals have no basis in reality with real estate anymore. We just say what we want. That's it, because we're willing to sure real estate's how dump it on them. We don't care because we'll take the property, and we'll hold this inventory, just like they hold the diamonds, so that they can manipulate the markets and say we'll regulate this on our terms. You might have several different diamond providers out there, but you got one company that owns the vast lion's share of the diamonds, and they say, hey, follow our lead and you'll all make a few bucks. Okay, but if you don't, we got to control these things. So we can't let everyone know they could all be walking around with pockets full of diamonds, everybody on earth. Okay, that would cheapen their worth, and we want to make money. It's about money. So you understand how this thing works. You got to really think, my friends. Figure this out. Be empowered with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Okay, and God is on your side to know it. But it is traumatic when you just look at it from God's point of view. This earth is God's earth. All the resources are God's resources. The greatest resource any nation can ever possess is its labor force. Okay, that's it, man. Without that, all the capital in the world gets nothing done. So let's just be honest. Let's be honest. We're marginalized, subjugating people, stealing their wealth. They say, well, they don't deserve a minimum wage. They're unskilled or they're uneducated. And that's the America you want. That's what you want to hand off. That's the world. And you expect to stand before God and give justification for that. You understand? I'm not going to take from anybody. Learn whatever you want. I don't begrudge anyone for getting a good career and making a lot of money. But do you care about others? You're willing to pay those. I can pay it, but you can't even afford to be a homeowner anymore. What do you think you're doing paying those rents? How do you think that affects somebody that's really struggling to pay that extra $50 a month when their rent went up? I don't know. I was barely making it before. What do you think that does? And you're out there willing to pay it? We're shipping in young, strong migrants all the time. They're willing to live. They caught one house down somewhere in Southern California. 118 people were living in that house. Illegal migrants. Undocumented, let's say. Be polite. So we're in a lot of trouble. We're in a lot of trouble. You see, all these special interest groups have an interest in putting a demand, an artificial, otherwise manipulated demand on the market. And that's what illegal immigration does. So, I mean, it's dire. Here in California, around the country, if you want to learn from us. Don't go this direction. Where the majority of your residents can't afford to be homeowners, we're in trouble. And we're spending $50 billion a year as a nation to subsidize housing costs for poor people. And yet we got all this poverty. We got people dying, suffering needlessly on the streets and dying sometimes. But we take the criminals. I mean, if you're a rapist or murderer, or thief, you'll get 3 hots in a cot. You'll get sheltered. We've got to protect you. Your business. You understand? It's a business. The jail's a whole criminal industrial complex. It has an interest in maintaining the problem. We've got to have a certain crime level. It's our bread and butter. Job security is our relevance. I mean, I'm not being overly cynical, but it's happening to people. They're not deliberately being evil, but by default position, they are, if they're just going along and complying and not complaining about this. I mean, the problem doesn't get fixed if you don't confront it, if you don't address it. It's just like when you know something's going out on your car, the alternator's making noise, you get it confirmed by the mechanic, the professional. So, yeah, you better replace that so you don't want to get stranded out on the highway, and you don't listen. And then you're stranded. And, I mean, how scary is that, to be stranded in the middle of the night on some country road? But maybe inclement weather goes out. I mean, maybe it's a very unsafe turnpike or God knows what. you know. But that's where we are. If you don't listen to guys like me that are saying, man, we got to come together, man. A house divided cannot stand. And I don't want a civil war in this country, and I don't believe there's going to be a civil war. I think we're way too far down the line. It's going to happen through knowledge. It's the hand and finger of God. The critical mass is going to be reached with knowledge. That's how God is working. We're all going to figure it out and figure out there's plentiful, simple solutions to all humanity's problems. But there's people that do not want the problems